What up, everybody? Early Tyler's a guy who has his hands in a little bit of everything. Wherever there's a dollar to be made, Early Tyler has his hand in it. He's a mechanic who runs a chop shop. He's well connected. The veterinarian, he got to help Unique under the table shows that. And at one point, Early was talking about opening up an exotic fish shop to Marvin in season 1 prior to being introduced. It was also said that Early once opened up a barber shop, but it got shut down because a lady came in there with lice and they spread everywhere. And then in Raising Kanan season 4 episode 4, we found out that Early also runs numbers. He does sports betting for basketball, football, and baseball, amongst other things. Because of that, I got to ask the question, is Early Tyler the father of RSJ? This was something I even considered before the season started, simply based off Early Tyler's character description, but I didn't get an opportunity to make a video on the topic. It said that Early Tyler was a trustworthy secret keeper, an ally, and a good friend to have in your corner if you can afford the high financial price of his freedom. Then keeping in mind what RSJ told Tariq about his father. RSJ told Tariq his father was a petty criminal who ran numbers. This sounds a lot like Early Tyler, because we now know that he runs numbers, and we already knew he was a petty criminal because he runs a chop shop. And even though we haven't heard anything about that on screen in season 4, that goes back to season 3. The same episode Ronnie tried to kill Unique. He mentioned he was flipping the car he stole with Early Tyler. And Ronnie mentioning Early's name in that episode, I think was foreshadowing Early's introduction, since he ended up being the one to save Unique. And a petty criminal isn't talking about someone who moves weight, does heist, or kills people or anything like that. A petty criminal's pretty much somebody who does the type of stuff that Early Tyler does. RSJ told Tariq that when he was growing up, everybody used to tell him that he was going to be like his father, but he didn't let their expectations box him in. The fact that everybody used to tell RSJ that he was going to grow up to be like his father is a clue that lets us know that his father was well known around the neighborhood. Like it was said about Early Tyler, he was a neighborhood institution. And from what I've seen, just about everybody knows who Early Tyler is. Growing up, people probably saw that RSJ was smart and capable, and when they said that he would be like his father, they probably really didn't mean any kind of disrespect like that. But a lot like how Tariq doesn't like being compared to his father, it sounds like RSJ was the same way. And RSJ later became a billionaire and one of the richest men in the entire world. So he didn't let people's expectations box him in. But at the end of the day, he still ended up being a lot like his father, with his hand in a little bit of everything. Small investments and smart business decisions is what got RSJ to where he is. He told Tariq he got to where he is by doing things the right way. So even though RSJ was legit compared to Early Tyler, he still ended up being a lot like his father. Because just like Early Tyler's a neighborhood institution and a good friend to have on your side, RSJ is a legit businessman, an institution himself, and has also shown to be a good friend to have on your side. Keep it in mind that RSJ not only helped Tariq with Weston Holdings, like how Lucas wasn't going to let Tariq go on the trip to Italy, he also helped Tariq when he found out that Weston Holdings was a Ponzi scheme before Tate blew the whistle and they both lost their money. Another similarity between these two characters that could be a clue that Early Tyler is RSJ's father is that they're both bald-headed. And as far as I know, balding is a hereditary thing. So sticking with the theme we've seen in Power, like father, like son, there's a lot of similarities between Early Tyler and RSJ, even though RSJ didn't let people's expectations put him in a box. And I already know that the argument that some people might say concerning Early Tyler being RSJ's father is that Early Tyler isn't RSJ's father because Unique was living at Early Tyler's crib and there was no kids or no wife around. But that means hardly anything because let's not act like everybody comes from a two-parent household. And even though RSJ's father was obviously in the picture, he never said that he did either. Early Tyler's probably in his mid to late 30s and likely has a baby mama out there somewhere that he's just not in a relationship with her like that anymore. And we know that RSJ is most likely from the South Side, Jamaica, Queens, because the fact he was interested in purchasing the QCP location as part of an area he was going to build a mall at. And I definitely think the reason why RSJ wanted to purchase that specific location and was even willing to invest in Weston Holdings, going against his better judgment to obtain that location, is because I think that was the neighborhood where RSJ grew up. Also keeping in mind, RSJ mentioned Tariq's father, James St. Patrick, to him multiple times. And even told Tariq at one point that he would be lying if he told Tariq he wasn't familiar with Tariq's father and his story. I think this means RSJ knew Ghost personally, again, likely from growing up in the same neighborhood. Because like I talked about in another video, I believe RSJ and his mother lived next door to Tommy Egan when Tommy Egan was a kid. Because on Force, Tommy told Kate the story how he had to steal from poor Miss Jenkins next door when he was young. And RSJ's full name is supposedly Ron Samuel Jenkins. So if Early Tyler is RSJ's father, his name is most likely Tyler Jenkins, unless RSJ uses his mother's last name. The first time that RSJ said anything to Tariq about his father, he said that when his father died, they were so poor, the only thing he left them was good examples. This lets us know that RSJ's father was dead, most likely got killed at some point, and even though he was a petty criminal, he didn't have a lot of money. Concerning Early Tyler, we know he don't have a lot of money. That's why he was sweating Unique like he was about the money he spent on Unique's recovery. And whatever little money Early Tyler did have, his family likely didn't have access to it once he died, leaving his family with nothing, like RSJ said. And as far as RSJ's father being dead, it seems like Early Tyler is taking a step closer in that direction every episode. First off, dealing with Unique, who's a wild card and could put Early Tyler down at any minute if he thinks he's a loose end, or possibly playing both sides with Marvin Thomas. There's also the threat of Marvin Thomas, because if he knew that Early knew Unique was alive and took money from a robbery from Unique, from a robbery of one of their spots, he would probably also put a bullet in Early Tyler. And to make things worse, Early Tyler's now running numbers for the mob, and Stefano already threatened both Early and Marvin if Early messes up. And one thing I noticed is that Early Tyler is very similar to Marvin. They're both always eating, and it seems like Early Tyler probably messes up a lot also, considering he was who convinced Unique Ronnie wasn't working alone and Rock was behind trying to kill Unique. And there you have it. Do you think that Early Tyler is RSJ's father? Let me know in the comments as well as your thoughts, theories, and predictions.